expectation. It's the expectation that these are the best athletes in America and that they're representing the United States. When you go out to Washington Street and you want to get drunk, you're not representing the entire United States. You're not the representation of our country. But that's enough of the Olympics. When we get back, we want to talk about how government regulations are affecting industries, including our own. We'll see you when we get back after the break.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join@teamwpr.com. join@teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David@houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David@houseflippingnetwork.com.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. Remember that you can live chat with us on Facebook, YouTube, and you can also tweet us at Realty Ruckus. Again, that's at Realty Ruckus. Now, David, we're going into a weekend here where we've had just been bombarded by rain this entire week. What can our viewers expect for this weekend?
Well, there's a slight chance of rain through the weekend, but it's letting up on us. We shouldn't experience too much more rain, and we do have the added benefit of lower temperatures due to the rain, so thank God for that.
Yeah, I did notice that last night. Normally, it's about 95, 96 degrees outside, and I walked out last night. I want to say it was like 78. It caught me completely off guard. I was like, wait a minute, what in the world is going on out here?
Yeah, apparently we've already hit like the peak heat for the year here in Houston, and so it's downhill from here, cooler temperatures.
Oh man, that is a relief. This has been one of the hottest summers I can ever remember, and it's the humidity. It's not so much that the heat itself is what's hot. It's been so humid though. You step outside and you're immediately drenched in sweat, and it's just hard to breathe. It's really, really difficult. So what I want to look at next is there's a really interesting article that came out, and this came out of San Francisco, and it has to deal with Uber. And the reason I want to bring up this article is because Ashley always talks about how the legal pendulum swings one way and then it swings back the other way. And so it goes back and forth from very strict on one area to very strict on the opposite side. And it's very rare that the pendulum will sit right in the middle. So you have all these new technologies like Uber, Airbnb, and they're revolutionizing the way that we do business. They really are. They're changing the way that across the world a lot of people do business. But the problem is the legalities behind them aren't 100% clear. And even when they are, it comes down to enforcement. How do you enforce those legalities? And we've talked about that with Airbnb and how, yes, cities have very clear regulations, but how do you enforce it? And you have cities like New York who are trying to enforce it, cities like San Francisco who are trying to enforce it, and they're going to set the precedent for everyone else. But a situation is happening in San Francisco that is setting kind of a scary precedent in terms of the way that employees are classified. So for those of you who don't know about this story, San Francisco, all of the Uber drivers got together and they decided that they were going to put a class action lawsuit against Uber. And the reason behind the lawsuit was they were being classified as independent contractors, which, by the way, I agree that they're independent contractors.
Yeah, they're to me as well.
But their argument was, we are not independent contractors, we are employees of Uber. And as employees of Uber, we should be entitled to getting reimbursements for our gas, for our maintenance on our vehicles, and other reasonable expenses that have to deal with us being Uber drivers. So I guess like bottles of water, the cleaning their vehicles, things like that. Now, they actually went to court on this, and Uber, rather than try to fight the lawsuit, they decided to settle with them. And they agreed on a settlement. They said, okay, look, here's the settlement agreement. You guys remain independent contractors, and this is referring to all of the Uber drivers. You guys remain independent contractors, and we're going to pay out $84 million to all of the Uber drivers. But in exchange, you're agreeing that you're going to remain independent contractors, not employees, which was a good win, was a big thing, because that would have settled a lot of other lawsuits around the country that started popping up after the San Francisco one. The problem is a federal judge just blocked that settlement because he says that not enough of the drivers are actually happy with the fact that they have to continue to remain classified as independent contractors instead of employees. Now, the reason I say that they're independent contractors for sure is because their hours are not regulated. They choose when they want to drive. They drive their own vehicles. There's not certain meetings. Yes, you have to go in certain cities and get approved as a taxi, but that doesn't make you an employee of Uber. You're not working for Uber. Uber's not controlling you. They're not really your boss. So that's my side and my take on it. And it's going to be really interesting to see where the pendulum falls in this case, because it's going to start setting the regulations on all future cases. And when you think, okay, well, how does that affect us in real estate? Well, it has a big effect because Uber is kind of the pioneer of that digital space for rental cars or for car sharing.
Yeah.
Airbnb is a pioneer for rental homes, and they're setting all the legal precedents. And so which way those pendulums swing, if they go really harsh against the technology companies, guess what? That's going to go harsh against technology companies across the board. So Airbnb is going to start to get hit harder in cities. All of you people that have your Airbnbs out there, if this lawsuit continues to be blocked and Uber loses it, you can expect to see a lot more regulation in that part of the housing industry. And we've seen how regulation can go from being very, very lenient to very, very strict very quickly. Example is right after the crash in 2006, you had all of this regulation come in, and now you have Dodd-Frank, and it makes things a lot more difficult. And it's there to protect consumers, but at the same time, it makes it a lot more difficult to do business. And so that regulation really starts to hurt the industry. I'm really curious to see where this lawsuit winds up. Right now, I can't believe that the judge is even siding on the fact that these people should be considered employees. I don't see how that can be possible, and maybe I just don't know enough about the lawsuit. But I'm curious to see, do they win, do they not win, and how does that affect all other digital programs moving forward?
Well, I think not just digitally, but in the case of independent contractors as a whole, that's going to kind of perhaps affect other industries. And, realtors as independent contractors.
Yes, that's a big one.
Would they then have some type of recourse to argue that they're employees of the brokerage?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right on that. And that's actually a really big deal because for the longest time, realtors are classified as independent contractors. Granted, a handful of them may be considered employees, and they are classified as employees. But if these people, these Uber syndicates is basically what they are, they're labor unions, win and they get classified as employees, you can expect that that's going to pop up in industries, like you said, like real estate, where everyone's been classified as independent for a long time, but do they have the right
and they're
to
truly
fight for
independent.
that?
Yeah.
Oh, I completely agree.
In my eyes, at least.
I agree with you. I think that they are truly independent, but I think the issue is if a judge is somehow seeing that Uber drivers are considered employees, even though they set their own hours, they choose when they work, and they don't have really rules to follow other than
Exactly.
common sense rules, what does that mean for realtors who, some realtors are required to wear uniforms. They are required to be at certain places at certain times. That starts to make you wonder, is the classification wrong? And that's where that regulation starts to get real sticky, because it can affect us all across the board in all industries.
Yeah.
Well, guys, when we come back, we're going to be talking about marketing and direct mail marketing. Exactly. There's a lot of direct mail marketing that happens in real estate, especially for real estate investors as well as realtors themselves. So what we want to do is we want to look at what mistakes you're making in your direct mail marketing campaigns. I know that a lot of you are out there spending a fortune on the direct mail marketing campaigns, and you may not be getting the results that you want, and I bet it's because you're making one of these mistakes. When we get back, we're going to talk about those.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. Remember, you can live chat with us on YouTube and Facebook, as well as tweet us at Realty Ruckus. Again, that's at Realty Ruckus. So, we wanted to talk about direct mail marketing. Now, pretty much everyone I know that's in the real estate industry in some way does direct mail marketing. And a lot of the times you hear people complain that they're not getting the results that they want from their direct mail marketing campaigns. And when you start to sit down and you start to look at, well, what exactly are they doing for their direct mail marketing campaigns? You start to realize, well, those are the reasons why you're not getting results. And it's really interesting because I found a very good article on entrepreneur.com that talks about just this, what you're doing in your direct mail marketing campaigns that are causing you to fail. And I think it's so interesting because despite the fact that this is really targeted at a different industry, the rules are the same across the board. And if you're not following these rules, you're going to fail. So I want to go through this list and see what your thoughts are, as well as what I can offer in terms of whether this is a real reason why people are failing or not. And number one on here is a big one. And I talk about this all the time. Every time somebody tells me I want to put together a mailing list, the very first thing I do is I tell them, who are you going to be mailing to?
Yes.
And very few people can actually answer that question. They always tell me houses or sellers. And I say, well, how do you know that? How do you know that those people are the ones that you're marketing to, that you're mailing to? And they can never answer that question. And number one on here is, why are your direct mail marketing campaigns failing? Well, you're failing to identify your audience. You're failing to identify your consumer, your customer. If your customer is a motivated seller And this is whether you're doing investment properties or you could possibly be just a realtor looking for listings. Either way, what you're searching for is a motivated seller. So you have to find ways to target motivated sellers. I know a lot of people who just pull an entire blanket list and say, all right, I'm just going to pick an entire
just
neighborhood.
Send them all out.
Exactly. And that doesn't work.
Yeah, you're throwing money out the door.
Absolutely. I always tell people, if you're going to do that, let's have more fun. Let's build a bonfire in front of here and just burn dollar bills. Because every letter you send costs you about 75 cents, and that's if you're doing it economically. Because you're looking at about 50 cents for postage, plus you have printing cost, the labeling cost, the envelope cost, all that adds up. You wind up spending about 75 cents a letter, and that's, like I said, if you're doing it economically. So when you're sending to half of your list, and they're not people who would be motivated sellers, you're making a big mistake. So you have to identify your audience. So if you're the person who's out there just taking this big blanket list or taking a list that a buddy gave you and you're not doing anything to clean that list up, you're failing yourself and you're literally throwing money out the window.
Can we give our audience maybe an example of what you would say is identifying a more specific audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I always look at is how long has somebody owned their house for? So NAR tells us, that the National Association of Realtors, that most people move every 5 years. So the first thing I do is I'm not going to really send a letter to anyone who's been in a house for less than 5 years. Yes, granted, there may be people who sell in less than 5 years. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I want to put my marketing dollars and stretch them as far as possible. And sending to people who haven't lived in a house for at least 5 years means that I'm really targeting people who may not be interested yet. Maybe in the future, but not right now.
A grand majority of those people will probably not be interested.
Exactly. The vast majority of them probably won't be interested in selling. So I'm kind of throwing my dollars away there. So number one, that's what I look at is how long has somebody lived in a house? And minimum 5 years, because that's about how often people move. You want to go for really motivated sellers, find people who've been there 10 years, find people who've been there 15, 20. Guess what happens when somebody lives in a house for 20 years? One, they either remodel it and it's a really nice house, or two, that house is falling apart.
Yep.
And they're going to be very motivated because they can't afford to make 20 years worth of repairs to that property. So those are the things that I look at. I also make sure that if I don't like 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom houses, I'm not mailing to that. I'm only looking for houses that meet my criteria. If it doesn't meet my criteria, I throw it out. And people always say, well, what about the deals that you're leaving on the table? What about all those houses that you could have made money off of if they called you? That's not the point here. The point is for me to target people that are more specifically going to make me money. If I'm just hoping for the lucky shot, I'm not really doing a marketing campaign. I'm just gambling. I'm throwing my money up there and hoping that it sticks.
Yeah.
And I may not get anything out of it. So I do think it's so important to identify your audience and know exactly who it is that you intend to mail to. Who is the demographic that you want to mail to, and get those letters in the right people's hands. So that's number one. Number two that they have on this list, and it kind of really goes along the same lines, is you've got a bad mailing list, right? So you don't actually look at the list yourself. You go out and you just buy a list from somewhere.
Okay.
Or you go to some guru somewhere and you say, hey, can you help me put together a mailing list? And they don't tell you any of the parameters that go into the list. They just say, oh, yeah, I check your inbox. I sent you over a mailing list. And you start mailing to it without knowing anything about that mailing list. Guys, how do you know that the address is even matched up to the correct owner? Because think about it. If you send a letter to a house and it's got the wrong owner's name on it, it doesn't matter if the address is right. People are not going to open it. They're going to go, oh, this letter's not for me.
It's not for me.
Yeah, return to sender. I don't know what this letter's doing here. And I've seen that happen so often where somebody will go in, sort a list, break the spreadsheet, and all of a sudden you have all of these bad addresses. And that happens all the time when you're not the one doing your mailing list, when you're allowing or trusting somebody out there who hasn't told you how they built this list to put together these marketing lists for you. If you're going to be doing direct mail, you at minimum need to know what criteria is going into the list and how the list was sorted. And then you want to go in every now and then and do quality control. Check the list. Go on HCAD and make sure that the owner matches the address. Because if you see 2 or 3 discrepancies, chances are the vast majority of that list is bad, and you're about to mail out and waste 1,000 people. That's $750. That's 75 cents.
Yeah.
That you're just going to throw out in the air. So you have to be very, very careful about that.
So best practice tips so far is go ahead and build your own custom list and make sure to identify who you're going to be targeting with that list.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. Now, the next part of it is, and I see this all the time, and I know that people are not doing this, they're not cleaning up their list. They're not going through and they're not removing companies off of it. They're not removing...
Because we get letters from people trying to buy houses that we've recently bought.
Exactly. So we've recently purchased a home, and they're mailing to it, I guess, because it looks like crap, because it's an ugly house, and we're getting the letters, and they should have seen on there that the owner's name changed. It's no longer John Smith in that house. It's now White Picket who owns that property.
Yeah.
And if they had cleaned up their list, and guys, you may say, okay, well, whatever. How many actually go through there? Well, even one counts. That's 75 cents per letter.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to stretch that marketing dollar, for those of you who are like, well, my marketing budget is too small, and you're trying to stretch it, that has a big effect on it when you're mailing to those people that there's no reason they should be mailing.
Exactly. If you have 3 or 4 in there each time you mail out, that's going to add up, and that's money you could have spent on somebody that could have been one of those lucky shot deals, but actually more targeted.
Yeah, and here's one tip for a lot of people who are making their own mailing list. Did you know that there is a national change of address list? Yes, you can actually go on there and see everyone who's filed for a change of address and link that up with your own spreadsheet to know if the people you're mailing to have moved. Now, you may think that's not important, but for those of you mailing to the foreclosure list, guess what? A lot of those people have recently moved. They don't live in the house anymore. You may go out there, and if you don't believe me, if you go door knocking, you'll see. A lot of the times, they'll have a tenant in there already. They stopped paying the house 6 months to a year ago. They realized they were going to lose it 6 months in, and they stuck a tenant in there, and they're making income off of the tenant, but they're not paying anything anymore, and they don't live there.
Yeah, they're gone.
So don't waste your money mailing to people that are not there at the property. You're literally throwing money out the door. Now, the next issue, it goes beyond the list itself. So this goes more into the marketing piece that people are sending out. And number 4 is you're not presenting a compelling offer. And what does that mean? It means that your letter is exactly the same as everybody else's letter. If you're not presenting something, and there's a reason that when you get direct mail, there's always the buy one, get one free, the 2-for-1, a bonus gift if you do this, anything, a free market analysis if you call me. All of those little things are giving people a value proposition. You're offering value. If you're the same person who keeps sending the same letter with no value proposition, stop and think about it on your next one. What value proposition can I actually offer somebody? Because that's what's going to make them want to call you. People don't just naturally grab a letter and say, oh, this guy says he buys houses. Let me call him real quick. They have to want it. And if you offer a value proposition, your letter is more likely to be chosen than all of the other people who have the exact same letter that just says, I buy houses, please call me.
Yeah.
I can help you, please call me.
Especially if you're mailing to something like the pre-foreclosure list.
Oh, absolutely. You got to think about it. I know at least a minimum of 100 investors who mail to that list, which means those people are getting 100 letters in the mail. You're one in a fish. You're one fish in a sea at that point, and you don't have a good opportunity to convert that lead unless you're offering a strong value proposition. That's very, very important. So if your direct mail marketing piece is just the same old, hey, my name is blah, 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 and I buy houses, think about it. What value proposition can you offer somebody in that letter to make them want to pick you over everyone else? Now, this is another one that I see all the time is, number 5 is your message is impersonal. And I do see that all the time is when people send out kind of a generalized letter where it just says, my name is so-and-so, and this is what I do. And the whole letter is about me, 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 me. Well, guess what, guys? People like to hear the word you.
Here's what I can do for you.
Exactly. And they want to see you. Oh, they're talking about me. Well, How long have you lived in your house for? Do you want to sell your house? All those words reach out to you. It literally makes them in their brain start to think, oh, this was written just for me. Even if it's a market mailing piece, a postcard, or a market yellow letter, it still is very important to make that value proposition and to make sure that the message is personalized. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go in there and write something personal about every person. Hey, John, I know that you like pizza. No, you don't know that about these people, but you have to find a way to speak to them. Don't only talk about me, me, me. I'm an investor. I buy houses. I'm a realtor. I list houses.
Yeah.
That you're not speaking to the client. You're speaking about yourself. And yes, you're telling them what services you offer, but you're never telling them how you can help them, what you can do for them.
How it's going to benefit them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you have to make sure and use that word you very much in your marketing pieces. That speaks directly to those individuals. Number 6 is you fail to indicate a call to action. And this one is really funny because we get letters sometimes here to some of our properties. It just makes me laugh because it'll say, my name is so-and-so, I'm an investor and I buy houses. Give me a call whenever you, and that's their call to action. But guess what? They forget to put a phone number. and I'm serious.
Huge mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand how somebody can make a mistake like that. That's an amateur mistake. That's a rookie mistake to forget your phone number or to forget your email address. Or what's the point of including a phone or an email address if you don't ask for the sale, you don't ask for the close? You have to make that question to them that says, hey, you need to call me, and when do I call you? So give them a time frame. I need to be called in the next 5 days, in the next 48 hours. That's your opportunity to offer that value proposition. Call me in the next 48 hours, and I can do something for you. There's some way or form that I can help your business. Guys, when we get back, we're going to continue looking at this list. Right now, we do have to go to break, but we'll be back in just a few minutes, and we'll finish looking at how you can fix your direct mail marketing pieces and start getting better results today.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service and an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. Remember, you can live chat with us on YouTube and Facebook, as well as tweet us at Realty Ruckus. Again, that's at Realty Ruckus. And what we're discussing right now is how you can fix your direct mail marketing. So I know a lot of people do direct mail marketing. It's one of the most popular forms to market in real estate, and it's because it's accessible. It doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. You don't have to go out and spend money, for example, a billboard. It's something that you can actually do with a small budget. You have $500, $1,000, you can go out and do direct mail and hit a lot of houses to try to drum up business. But the problem is the way that you're doing your direct mail marketing. So, number 7 is really important. I agree with this one tremendously. And this one is referring to you failing to be creative and using only the mediocre components that are already given to you. Now, no offense to a lot of people who are using websites like Yellow Letter, but guess what? Those same yellow postcards that everybody sends that have the exact same words on them, they don't stick out. They don't seem any different than what everyone else is doing. You have to think, how can I make my mail piece motivating? How can I make it interesting? And most importantly, how can I make my mail piece irresistible? When your mail piece looks the same as everybody else's mail piece, you're failing on all of those components. You are no longer being creative. You're no longer being better and different than your competition. You're just the same. So when it comes time for somebody to pick between one of those 4, it's literally a toss-up. They don't have to make a choice. You made the choice for them. And the choice is for them to guess and just grab one that happens to catch their attention the most on that day because they all look the same. And guys, I can tell you that I've gotten those yellow letters before. They all look identical. The postcards, I'm not talking about the letters. The letters always have different content. But the postcards all look the same. They always look identical. So don't be that person that only sends out those postcards and then complains that your postcard mail out didn't get you any results. The reality is you failed yourself by sending out the same generic message that everybody else sent out. You need to get creative. You need to be different. Now, how can you be creative and be different and know if it's getting you results? Well, that comes up with number 8. You have to test.
Yeah, many people don't test or even think about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is not only for mailing. This goes with all of your marketing. You have to be testing and doing it in several different ways. So instead of sending one letter, send out 2 different letters. See what kind of results you get off of those 2 letters, and then continually work to improve your marketing. I've gotten some letters. So we've been here for 4 years now, and there's letters that we've gotten since year 1, year 2, and I continue to get the exact same letter from those people, right? And that just tells me they're not testing. They're sending out that mail piece and it's working. It's getting them results, because if not, they wouldn't continue to send it over the course of 4 years. But imagine if they were testing how much they could improve the results, how many more houses they could buy, how many more listings that they could get if they would just take the time to test.
Yeah, it's not about just getting results. It's about getting the best results. And if you have no way of testing or tracking the results that you're getting back from the marketing pieces, then again, you're not necessarily throwing money out the window, but there's more money that could be coming in that you're missing out on.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, I guarantee you, even big companies like McDonald's and Coca-Cola, who have what I consider almost unlimited budgets when it comes to marketing, they're testing. They're looking at every single marketing message that they're doing and seeing what kind of results they're getting from it. So whenever you have direct mail and it's easy for you to test, and you're not testing and doing it differently to find out what gets you the best results, you cannot expect to stretch that dollar any further. It's only going to go as far as your best letter is going to go. And if you don't continue to make that letter better, you're not going to get better results.
Now, that doesn't mean go out and change your letter every mail out. You got to give it some time. Maybe give it at least 6 months of testing out a certain marketing campaign. Or if you're doing A and B testing to one specific neighborhood, 2 different marketing pieces to see what works better. Make sure to track your results for a while there. Don't go ahead. Don't jump around from thing to thing and basically say nothing's working for you. You haven't given things time for results.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because yes, you're right. Don't go out there and do something just wildly different on every single one. You have to be a little scientific about it, right? And when you do a test in a laboratory, you don't just go and change every single aspect of the problem. You go in and you say, okay, we're going to change small things at a time and see what kind of results that gives us.
By the way, this is why this is the nerd edition of the Realty Ruckus, because we're breaking it down to a science, trying to, teach the audience out there how to test their marketing pieces to be highly effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said something really important. You have to track. And number 9 on here is you don't track, right? And how can you even test your results if you're not tracking? If you don't have a specific phone number on every mailing piece that tells you, okay, these calls came from that mail out, those calls came from a different mail out, how do you know? How do you know which mail out is going to be the best, right? You have to be able to track. And not only that, but then you have to look at beyond that, the quality of the leads that you're getting. So if you don't have a centralized system, a centralized database where you're putting in all of your leads and you're saying, okay, these leads came from this source. Yes, I got a lot of leads, but everyone who called me was looking for rental property. Something must be wrong with my message. That's how you can figure out whether you're effective or not. Just because you got a lot of calls does not mean that it was a good marketing piece. I would rather get less calls and close more deals than to have 10,000 calls and not close any deals because my marketing message wasn't right. And the only way you can figure that out is by tracking. Have a number that's different for every mailing piece that you send out so you can know the results that you got from those mailing pieces. And it's not only about letting the results fall into your phone system or fall into your database and you never look at them. You have to sit down and actually look at that data and say, okay, marketing piece 1, we received 100 phone calls on it. Out of those 100 phone calls, X amount of people, let's say 10 people, actually wanted to sell their house. Out of those 10 people, I was able to buy 1 house. That I had a 10% off of the leads of people who actually wanted to sell. Now you can start to quantify your business and you can say, okay, this is what 1 lead cost me. This is what it cost me to buy 1 house. Now I know what I need to spend on a monthly basis if I want to buy 2 houses, 3 houses, 4 houses. That's how you scale your business, is by looking at those things. But if you're not changing that up and you're not tracking and testing, you can't expect any of that. You're not going to get the results that you want. So for those of you who say, all my leads are crap, I don't get any good leads. Okay, well, let's figure out what about your direct mail marketing piece caused you to get the leads that don't go in line with what it is that you want. You have to think about that. If all your leads are calling you and saying, hey, so you sell houses owner financed, something is wrong with the message that I'm sending in that direct mail marketing piece. I need to fix that. But if you continue to send that same letter and complain for the next 6 months that all of your leads are owner finance leads, guess what, guys? It's not the fault of the letter. It's the fault of you for not going back and changing the message in that letter. The letters don't change themselves, and the way people interpret it isn't going to change drastically on its own. You have to go in and you have to make the change to your marketing pieces to get rid of the message that's confusing people.
Yeah, don't blame the results. The results aren't what's in charge here. You're in charge. It's up to you to change your marketing piece to get different results. People are doing this every day and have done it before. Obviously, they've figured out a system. It's not just you. It's not the world against you. It's not your crappy leads that aren't coming through for you.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And number 10 on this list, and really to me, number 10 is the absolute most important one of all on this entire list. And it's you have poor or no follow-up. So you're taking that lead in, you're getting the information, and you're doing nothing with that information. You're never calling the person back, or you may call back once, and when they say, oh, no, I'm not ready to sell yet, okay, and you never talk to them again. Now, I personally think you could get rid of everything else on this list, and as long as you're following up like crazy with the leads that you do get, you're going to be closing deals. Unfortunately, very few people have a databasing system to where they can effectively follow up with their leads. I see so many people running around with a notebook in their hand, and that's where they're writing down all the information for their leads, and then they're going back the next week and going through, okay, well, well, who do I need to call? What do I need to do here?
Yeah,
Guys.
got to read their scrabble notes again.
Yeah, and
try
then
to decipher it.
Then they can't understand what they wrote down, or they can't remember who they talked to. They call somebody, they got all the wrong details. Oh yeah, you had that house for $40,000 you were trying to sell, and they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember any house for $40,000. Those are the issues that I'm saying when it comes to not being organized and modernized in your follow-up system. So you have poor follow-up. It's not a good follow-up. We're in 2016. There's way too many free CRMs out there that people can go and they can use, and they may not be the best. They may not make text messages for you or send automatic phone calls or do any of the automation portions of your CRM that you would want. But guess what? It's way better than that notebook you're using.
Yeah,
It's like your notebook is even worse than a Rolodex. You're almost better off with a Rolodex. And
yeah,
I don't even think.
don't hate on the Rolodex. My mom used that thing for many years, and it worked out very well for her.
And I'm sure it worked in its time. You know, the Rolodex was a good innovation. I don't know what, maybe 1978,
I don't know what it was.
1985, something like that. But we're in 2016 now. It's time to get away from writing everything down on paper. It's time to get it into a digital atmosphere, a digital space. It drives me crazy when somebody comes in and I say, okay, let's sit down and let's look at your leads so that we can see what you're doing with all of them. And they pull out a notebook. Or they tell me, oh, I forgot my notebook at home, so I don't have my leads with me. Guys, there's cloud systems. There's internet almost everywhere in the United States. You can log in from anywhere and look at your leads. Look at what marketing pieces you've sent out, how many phone calls you've gotten from anywhere in the world. It's not just in the United States. You can be on vacation in the middle of nowhere. As long as there's internet, you'll still be able to log in and look at those leads and perform those follow-ups. So there's no excuse here. There's free CRMs, there's things like a Podio, Zoho, and there's a bunch of other free ones. If you really want to get robust and get into systems that are going to be even better for you, there's Salesforce, which I know that some of the best companies here in Houston use systems like Salesforce. Yeah. There's Infusionsoft. If you're a real estate agent, I know Top Producer is very popular. There's so many systems out there. You just have to go out and either, if you don't want to spend money, get a free one, but use the system. Start putting your leads in there. It's a difficult transition going from paper to the digital space, but I guarantee you, you're going to see a massive increase on your return on investment and what you're doing to make money whenever you're actually turning those leads and making them work for you because you're following up with them and you have them database.
You know, here's one last thing. We got about a minute left before we go to break, but one last thing I wanted to touch on as far as following up with marketing and what kills people's follow-up system. You know, a lot of people say they have these crappy leads, and that's because they accept one no. They follow up, maybe they do have a follow-up system, but after receiving one no, one rejection, they give up. And I'm sorry, but if you're taking one rejection or one no, then you're not in sales. You're not a salesman or a saleswoman. You're not out there doing the job. You got to take, at the very minimum, 4 no's, very minimum.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I always tell people you got to hear no 7 times before you turn around and go the other way,
or something nastier than that. Typically, around that time is when it's time to give it up.
By the end there, you're not going to get no's anymore. You're going to get more of a get the F out of here. I don't want to see you anymore, guys. When we come back from the break, we'll jump into our last segments here. We'll look at what events are going on over the weekend, and we'll look at what we're going to be talking about next week on the Ruckus. We'll see you after the break.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join@teamwpr.com. join@teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. Remember that you can always live chat with us on YouTube and Facebook, as well as tweet us at Realty Ruckus. Again, that's at Realty Ruckus. Now, we've given a lot of good information about marketing today, and we don't want to jump too much on that, but marketing is really interesting because a lot of it comes down to brand marketing and creating a brand for yourself that people can recognize. Now, a lot of the people that I can bring up are people like the Flip This House guy that comes out on TV. There's Armando Montalongo, who's real famous. He was pretty much one of the very first TV flippers that was out there. And brands are really important because guys like Donald Trump, their entire business is based off of that brand, having that name, that notoriety that makes people want to interact with your products based off of that. So there's actually a couple. They call them the fixer-upper couple. They've got an HGTV show called Flip or Flop. The
show's called Fixer Upper.
Okay, sorry about that. The show is called Fixer Upper, but it is on HGTV.
Yes,
and it's a couple who goes out and they buy distressed property, they flip them, and then they sell them.
Yeah, here in Waco, or not here, but in Waco.
Yeah, in Waco, Texas is where they're located. Now, what's interesting is people have been buying the fixer-upper couples' houses, and instead of actually living in them, they're buying them and turning them into Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Now,
it's the clients that they do the projects for.
Yeah. Okay. So they do these projects for people, and these people are converting the homes into Airbnbs. But it's not because the home would make a good Airbnb. It's because they're selling the Airbnb on the fact, come stay at this house that the fixer-upper couple did. Mm-hmm. So they're using the notoriety.
Yeah, nobody's going to Waco to stay at an Airbnb. Maybe for a Baylor game or something, but
yeah, I just can't see it being a popular destination for Airbnbs. But the people there found that by marketing it as these houses were done by the fixer-upper couple, people were actually renting the houses and they're staying in these Airbnbs. Now, the problem is the couple is starting to realize that they're losing money, they're losing revenue by not capitalizing on the fact that these people are using their likeness in order to sell the ability to rent the houses that they've remodeled. Mm-hmm. So they're fighting back. And they're trying to go in and fight in and putting in clauses in the homeowners' sales contracts that say, you can't rent this out as an Airbnb unless we make some money from it. And really, I think they're just trying to stop the renting out altogether. It's less about the money for them.
Yeah, they say it's not true to the intent of the show that, they're supposed to be fixing up these houses for homeowners on the show, and then it comes out to be a commercial venture.
Yeah, and that just is ridiculous to me because a homeowner should have the ability to do whatever they want with their home. That's why they own it. And if the TV show's unhappy with it, then the TV show should have done a little bit more research on the front end before they went in and remodeled that person's home.
And the crazy thing is these things are booked solid.
So they're just completely booked for the next few months.
Yeah, this show is so... I haven't personally... I think I've watched a little bit of it.
I'm not familiar with the show. So apparently the couple's name is Chip and Joanna.
Yeah, Chip and Joanna Gaines. And apparently they're extremely popular. People love this show. So much so that they're willing to go stay in Waco, Texas at these Airbnbs, and they're booked solid for months.
That's incredible to me. I don't understand how that happens, but I can see how they would be upset about the fact that they're not capitalizing on the income that's coming in from that.
Well, I think I see an opportunity here, with the houses that you guys flip and Mr. Curtis Warden out there. Maybe we just need to push the celebrity status a little bit further so people will start flocking to our Airbnbs.
Yeah, right. You can stay in an Airbnb that was done by somebody famous. That's really cool. I think this might be the first times that I've heard of that. I haven't heard of anyone doing that with like the guy in Boston that flips houses or the Montalongos. I haven't heard of that. I'm sure it's just a matter of time before people start doing the exact same thing. Legally, I'd like to find out, can they actually make those restrictions? Can they tell the homeowner, no, you can't rent out your property on Airbnb?
Yeah, I doubt that, but I guess we'll have to see.
Well, and this will eventually wind up, like everything else does, it'll wind up in a lawsuit. They'll wind up going to court over it, and somebody's either going to win and somebody's going to lose, and then we'll have a precedent set.
Yeah.
And it's going to stop. If it stops them from renting, then people are not going to be able to do that anymore. And if they say, no, anyone can rent, oh, man, you can just wait for the explosion that's going to come from, well, I bought so-and-so's house that he flipped on TV. Let me turn that into an Airbnb and start capitalizing on the revenue I can make from that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Airbnbs make a lot more revenue than your traditional rentals. We've talked about that. And especially if you're avoiding all the city's fees and rates that they charge you in order to create an Airbnb. I'm interested to see what happens with this one. But that's interesting. I didn't know. I don't know anything about this couple. I'm so glad that you brought it up. Otherwise, I wouldn't have ever thought to think about something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting.
Very cool. Well, what events do we have coming up this weekend?
Okay, well, as far as real estate goes, I know the Rich Club is doing a marketing strategy workshop, I believe, at 9 a.m. over at their offices tomorrow morning. And we do have the Capital Concepts event coming up at LaGrange, and that's going to be August 30th, so that's near the end of the month.
Okay.
In non-real estate related events, though, we do have a lot of cool things going on this weekend in Houston. Hart, Joan, and Jet and Cheap Trick at the Woodlands Pavilion.
Very cool. There's some nostalgia for you right there.
Yeah, my wife is actually going tonight with her aunts. And the Texans are going to be in action this weekend at NRG Stadium versus the New Orleans Saints. So I know everyone's excited about that.
Yeah, I know we won that first preseason game, but it wasn't pretty. So we'll have to see how we do
in
the second preseason game.
Unfortunately, my Cowboys lost theirs.
Oh, fortunately, you mean.
Let's not get started. Star Wars Marathon, which I'm excited about, at Hobby Center. I think that's all 7 of them, maybe. That's going to be a long night.
Oh my goodness, that is a very long day of movie watching. I don't know if I've got to do that to stay in a Star Wars fan club. I may have to jump out of the fan club.
Oh man,
that's a really long marathon.
And then we have, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Dierks Bentley at Woodlands Pavilion.
Oh yeah, Dierks Bentley. He sings that song about being drunk on an airplane. I saw him at the rodeo. That's the only reason I know. I saw him at the rodeo like 2 years ago.
Yeah, so that seemed kind of popular. I'm not familiar with him, but
I'm pretty sure he's a Houston native. He made his way playing at places like the Firehouse Saloon here in Houston. So that's pretty neat, man. That's cool. And those are when are those events? That one?
That one is this Sunday at the Woodlands Pavilion.
Okay, well, if anyone likes country music, you got to make it out there. Where was the marathon at? Not that I'm gonna go, just in case.
Let me see. Let me look it up. It's at Hobby Center.
Okay.
Oh, and Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa are going to be at the Woodlands Pavilion on Saturday.
Come on, man. How could you forget about that one? All right, that's one event that I would like to make it to. That's pretty cool.
So there's a lot of cool stuff coming up, as well as our events coming up. I know in September near the end, I believe we've set the date now. I'm going to go ahead and do an early announcement to the Realty Ruckus audience. It's going to be September 28th is the virtual assistant class we're going to be hosting with Richard Smith.
Yes, guys, and that class is going to be incredibly helpful for you, especially if you're looking to hire your first assistant and you don't have the money to hire someone local. Yeah. So you can hire a virtual assistant, spend anywhere between $3 to $5 an hour, and get someone who can really help your business.
Yeah, so more details to come soon.
Yeah, that's going to be on September 28th. We'll get you more details as we move forward. Guys, we appreciate you putting up with me and David today. I know that Alan wasn't here. Ashley wasn't here as we usually have it, but Alan will be back next Tuesday, and Ashley will be back next Friday. And we hope that you enjoyed today's show. We'll catch you guys again next week.
the Realty Ruckus. Make sure and join us every Tuesday and Friday for new episodes. Find us on YouTube and Facebook for replays of previous episodes. And as always, keep elevating yourself and keep up your ruckus. Thanks for listening. Realty Ruckus has been brought to you by Smart Pig Media Productions.